Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books. Well, today I'm going to tell you the real reason behind the Disney coup, why Bob Chapek had to leave, and what actually happened. Okay, there's a lot of talk about different things. Even I did a recent video saying there were numbers that Bob Chapek was faking for production. And the truth of it is, yes, but also no. It is an oversimplification. Of course, the chief financial officer was well aware of what was going on at the company. It's not that she didn't understand that Bob Chapek was shifting around expenses between Disney Plus and their cable channels, or that Bob Chapek was asking her, hey, let's stretch out the cost of making She-Hulk for a couple of extra years. Who's it going to hurt? She's aware of it, and she agreed to it. So she's partially at fault for it, but only partially and only for a very small amount. Because, of course, the chief financial officer of a company is supposed to support the executives. They're supposed to coordinate, cooperate, have discussions. And as long as what the chief executive officer is asking the CFO to do, they are supposed to go along with it, agree, kind of make things happen, perhaps even make suggestions that the CEO takes advantage of. However, there are limits. And when it becomes obvious that the chief executive officer has a strategy that is dangerous for the company, such that the company might actually crash. I know a lot of us are not happy with what Marvel's done with their characters and what they've done with the Star Wars brands and things like that. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about these are professionals, and when they feel like the company actually could crash and there could be a lot of problems and even personal liability, but you don't want to see your company completely fall apart. You have to take action. Do I believe that the CFO is the one who went to the board and told the board, hey, look, this guy's got to go. The company is in serious danger. I have no confidence in him. Yeah, I believe that completely. And it wasn't just over one television show where they decided, okay, let's put it on the Disney Channel. It was over a number of issues. And I've been seeing these for a couple of months. I've been making videos talking about how I think they should fire Bob Chapek, how I think that they're losing billions and not even being honest about how much money they're losing. I also alerted people to Dan Loeb, who is a billionaire, what they call activist investor. Activist meaning they push for change at the company, not social justice change, not that kind of change, the kind of change of like the way you're managing the company is not good. It's got problems. And if you make corrections, the company can do better. That's what Dan Loeb was doing a few months back. I did this video 3 months ago, and I mentioned he wants layoffs and that he wants change of the company. He got a board member elected to the board. And, a lot of people said, hey, there won't be any change. And I said, look, it's probably going to be slow, but there is going to be change. And Bob Chapek's gone. He's part of the reason why he's gone. He's not the only reason, but he's part of the reason. But first thing you have to understand is what a CFO actually does for a company. Because we can say, and I've seen in my comments, oh, she stabbed him in the back. She didn't have his back, yo. She didn't protect him. She went and told investors that there were problems at the company. Well, there are 4 responsibilities for a chief financial officer. So let's look at what her responsibilities are and what she actually seems to have admitted in a recent Wall Street Journal article, what she did, because she admits it. So before we get into this, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I appreciate you guys. The channel's going great, and I just want to give you the correct information so you could decide whatever you want for yourselves. I always appreciate your comments, but let me just tell you from Deloitte, which is a major accounting firm, what the 4 responsibilities of a chief financial officer actually is. Am I defending her? 100%. Yeah, I am. I'm telling you what you may not know. Many of you might know, but what a CFO actually does. So they're supposed to be a steward. What's a steward? CFOs work to protect the vital assets of the company, ensure compliance with financial regulations, close the books correctly, which is when they do financial reporting. So if it's the end of a quarter, here's all the numbers, they all add up, and here's the financial reports that you can then release. That's what closing the books is. And communicate value and risk to investors and boards. Communicate value and risk to investors and boards. That's directly to investors. And boards, as in her board of directors. It's not get this information, talk to the CEO. If the CEO says, man, that don't look so good, can you change some stuff around? You're not supposed to do that. Has she already done some of that? Yeah, because you do it supporting the CEO and supporting the executive team. But no, she's not supposed to not talk to the board of directors if she thinks there's a problem. She's supposed to do that. There's also something called investor relations for public companies, even the smallest ones. Investor relations is when an investor, or big or small, can contact the company, ask specific questions that are not in the financial statements. So when they've got these billionaire guys like Dan Loeb, who you're not going to fool, who is calling up Disney and asking questions, and his people are calling, and other investors are calling. You're not going to, what are you going to lie for Bob Chapek and say, look, I believe in everything he's doing when no one else does at the company? Operator. CFOs have to operate an efficient and effective finance organization, providing a variety of services to the business, such as financial planning, analysis, treasury, tax, and other finance operations. Strategist. CFO takes a seat at the strategic planning table and helps influence the future direction of the company. If she does not agree with the CEO's direction of the company, what is she supposed to do? She's not his friend. She has a responsibility at the company. She needs to speak up. They are vital in providing financial leadership and aligning business and finance strategy to grow the business. In addition to the M&A, which is mergers and acquisitions, if they buy companies, if they merge with a company, if they sell their company, and capital market financing strategies, how they raise money with things like debt or offering certain kinds of stock, they can play an integral role in supporting other long-term investments of the company. Catalysts. CFOs can stimulate and drive and timely execution of change in the finance function of the enterprise. Okay, so using power of their purse strings, they can selectively drive business improvement initiatives such as improved enterprise cost reduction, procurement, pricing, execution, and other process improvements and innovations that add value to the company. That's boring, it's detail-oriented, but it's also important. But understand, strategy is her responsibility. It's not just the CEO. And if she doesn't agree with what the CEO is doing, who is she supposed to communicate this to? The board of directors, which is what she did, and to investors directly. It's not something like, oh, you just got to back me up, babe, because you're my CFO and I got these great ideas. No. And I want you to understand also, too, why was I calling for Bob Chapek to be thrown out? And why am I so concerned about this guy, Kareem Daniel? I bring him up in almost every Disney video now. The reason is, this is an article that I came across looking for other content in the Direct. It's a great website. Disney boss gets candid about show cancellation concerns. Kareem Daniel used to be in charge of whether or not they would cancel She-Hulk, for example. Are you going to do a She-Hulk second season? Or his response here is when I really became concerned about Disney. And I haven't been watching Disney that carefully. I'm a Warner Bros. Discovery guy. But Disney kept popping up in the news. What Kareem Daniel showed in this response was that there's no accountability for shows being successful or not successful. And Kareem Daniel explained, well, as long as it's in our library, that's what really matters. I mean, eventually we have to have growth, and the only way. So this is what he said. So when asked about responsibility for making tough calls on canceling shows, Daniel first pointed out that they don't have a lot of examples to draw on due to the fact that content teams are creating some fantastic things. When he said they're creating some fantastic things, it's too bad I wasn't on a live stream, because I'm going to tell you something. I was like, what did you just say? Content teams are creating fantastic things? That's not the issue. The issue is you create good content, fantastic things that people want. You can't disconnect that from what people want. And that's what he did. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of examples to draw upon because the content teams are creating some fantastic things. We weigh a lot of different factors in terms of whether we should go forward or not. Okay, but like why? And a lot of that does require faith in our content teams where, your story arc, what's happening. Sometimes you'll have a season 1 where you have to go to certain things and establish these characters in a fundamental storyline, but where that's going in a season 2, even if it's not performing that well in the first season or as well as we would like. Now, it sounds like all you would have to do if you're in charge of Marvel TV is walk into Kareem Daniel's office and say like, hey, Kareem, come on, man, everything's cool. And it's, people might not like the first season, but that's okay because look, it's ideological, and people like that, and it's a new direction for Marvel, and it's going to be great, and just give me till the second season, man. I'm telling you what, it's going to be great. What? That flies? Like, no. You have to have a way to see what the audience wants. But that's been Disney's problem. They haven't been producing what the audience wants. You know what it's going to do in the second season, and it's going to yield benefits because that library will maintain. When we're talking about the streaming service, it will be there. That's something that we rely on our content teams for certainty. What? So because it's going to be available on the streaming service, it doesn't matter if people are watching it or not. That is about a private conversation, or even a, God forbid, a public, probably public conversation that Kareem Daniel has had with Bob Chapek and the chief financial officer, and discussed like, look, as long as it's on the streaming service, you can't say it's a failure. Well, that's not how it works. A distribution channel and the access to a distribution channel does not mean, it's never been that way in theatrical, it's never been that way in TV. If it looks like it's not generating consumer success, you have to take losses and write down those movies. And that's what they do. They're going to do that with Strange World. They spent, whatever, $150, $180 million on that movie. It's done terribly recently. Did a video about that recently. They're going to have to take a charge against that, an expense, saying, look, it's not worth what we thought it was worth because people don't like it. However, Daniel pressed that the top-level executives have a responsibility to drive growth for these platforms, stressing that the need for these shows to perform. Okay, but ultimately we do have a responsibility in driving growth for these platforms. Then if something is not performing, if we're going to have to make that call, as tough as they may be, it's not working on the service. Okay, we're focused, of course, on hitting the profitability that we established as a key goal in 2024. We're confident that goal is going to be met. Well, that's not good enough. It's not good enough for an actual CFO. I don't know this woman, but she's been with the company for a long time. She was the treasurer, apparently, for 15 years before she became the CFO. Iger did put her in the position of CFO, but she proved herself. She's got credentials. I mean, this is the article from the Wall Street Journal burnishing her image, saying the Disney CFO who raised concerns about Bob Chapek has respect on the street. Just so we're clear now, no, the CFO is not supposed to hide from the board if she has concerns about Bob Chapek. I've had concerns about Bob Chapek, and I'm right. I'm not giving you an assessment of, well, I don't know about this, woke or not woke, or if he's friendly or not. I'm just saying the things that he's done, the things that he's said, his lack of ability to communicate has nothing to do with Bob Iger. That's on him. You need to be able to sell your CFO. You want to replace the CFO? Fine. Replace the CFO. Find someone that'll just go along with you, or that can see into your vision, even though you can't communicate it to the board. The CEO can't communicate it to the CFO. He can't communicate it to stockholders. You can't communicate your vision, and you can't get people to buy into it. They can't help you make it happen. That's what happened to Bob Chapek. And the problem at Disney, the reason why, yes, there had to be a coup, was because, like me, but with a lot better information, she could see that everyone thought that Bob Chapek wasn't going to be able to make it. There are some rumors that she even went behind his back and did tell Jim Cramer about what was going on, and to try to, help create a narrative that Bob Chapek was terrible, because Chapek was accused of being delusional by Jim Cramer. Do I believe that? Yeah, that's quite possible. Is that her responsibility to go behind his back and tell secret tales to media figures? No, not really. But was it her responsibility to go to the board, go directly to investors, and if they ask questions like what's going on, is this company going to succeed with this current strategy? She's not supposed to lie for him. There's also a lot of talk now. People say ESG this, ESG that, BlackRock, and yeah, but there are massive layoffs happening at many, many companies. Disney has announced layoffs. Bob Iger is going to be addressing layoffs. They're probably going to do a lot of layoffs at Disney. And this is coming from Forbes. Amid tech layoffs, executives weigh suddenly controversial diversity initiatives. This article from Forbes is basically a warning to companies that you better not just get rid of people that have been hired for diversity purposes that may not be as productive as some of the other experienced people. That's what this is. And they make references how they currently have a system that's not based on merit, and medical schools now and how positive that is. Did you know what the responsibilities of a CFO were? Did you realize also, like, yeah, she outed him and she ratted him out, but kind of like that was her responsibility? So, of course, let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up when you like it, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.